You are now watching the Ball and Beats podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back here to another episode of the Ball and Beats podcast, episode 127. I've got Spencer to my right, Andrew to my left. Boys, how we doing today?
I'm doing great.
It's really
good
nice.
Day. It's snowing outside, and you know, snow's cute and all, but like, just stop.
It's
after
the
January.
slush for me that gets
like
me,
it's
man.
cool in December. I get it in January, but like after February, just stop.
Yeah.
Like just get on with your life, and then but it'll end up snowing probably until May.
Yeah.
Like at our graduation, it'll be a snowstorm probably.
For no reason at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a white shoes wearer, so the slush gets on the sides, makes
It
it
adds a
yellow.
little extra texture to it.
Yeah, it just,
Gets dirt on them and
you know,
stuff.
yeah,
It's
I'm ready
annoying.
for that spring weather where
is
it's
absolutely
nice and 65 out, little wind.
Oh.
Can take walks outside again. Long sleeve shorts. Sorry. Go on.
Thing is, I mean, everyone's at home right now while we're putting in the work here at the Ball and Beats podcast, you know what I'm saying? And, before we get into our topics of today, just make sure you follow the social media down low. Subscribe here to the YouTube channel. Hit that push notification bell to stay up to date on all new videos. Like, subscribe. And shout out to Dyllie again. That album is now out. Y'all can listen to it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever you get your podcast. Shout out
to him, man.
Shout out the Dyllie man.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Good stuff.
He's
Good
doing
stuff.
a lot.
He's
Photographer.
He's doing a ton.
Musician. Oh, man. What a talented gentleman.
Utility guy.
He's a full utility. Just as much so, he plays it to the children that he works for at a school as well. I bet they're enjoying the album more than anybody else, too, Dyllie. But, this past weekend, we had Super Bowl 59, and, some people on this panel's predictions were not necessarily correct. But somebody got it right, and
I mean,
I
picked the Eagles to win the Super Bowl. I picked Ohio State to win the Natty. I mean, what else do you want from me?
Spencer's been getting his game predictions pretty right recently for no reason.
We're gonna have the Pistons win the NBA Finals too, so you watch out for that. Cade Cunningham.
All right, maybe slow down a little
He's
bit, buddy.
top 5 point guard in the league. You can't argue with a wall.
Slow down just a little bit. But I mean, I want to talk about belt to ass. That was Super Bowl 59 from start to finish. That defense of Philadelphia made Patrick Mahomes look like Jake Delhomme.
He looked terrible.
Yeah, I think it actually, it puts a microscope on how more, everybody wants to talk about how great the AFC teams have great quarterbacks, right? But NFC teams have great defenses, and that's that Eagles team is so good defensively. Not just they got all 11 that start, but behind them they have great depth offensively. Great offensive line, great special, utility guys. That team is really, really special, and they got dudes on that defensive line. J-Link's Hunt, just a dog. They're just. They blew me away. I did not think
they
they were
guys
gonna
everywhere. And the
be
thing
able
is,
to
they
do that.
drafted. I mean, they drafted Jalen Carter. They drafted Jordan Davis. They drafted Brandon Graham years and years ago. And Josh Sweat, he's been really good for them. He's going to leave in the offseason for a free agency. But this thing, it proved to me, and kind of go off what Andrew said, the AFC might have better quarterbacks. I think overall the NFC has better teams.
Absolutely.
I think fully healthy, the Eagles have one of the best teams. You can call me biased. I think the Lions have one of the best teams.
Yeah.
The Vikings prove that even with Sam Darnold, they have a great defense and a great offense.
Yeah.
Packers you can throw in there and stuff. I mean, there's great teams in the NFC. The AFC just has great quarterbacks. Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen. I mean, you can say what you want about the Bills. I mean, they don't have a wide receiver one.
No.
Amari Cooper is on the decline. Kansas City, they don't have a wide receiver one. In Baltimore, I think that's the one team where I'd put they have a great overall team. They have a great defense. They have no holes. But it proved to me that it's hard to win Super Bowls in this league, man. And I know that people are like it's just the Chiefs are the Chiefs, but I'm like people are forgetting this Eagles team have been dominant all year, and they had early losses, and then they've just been on a tear ever since. And I mean, Kansas City won 15 games. you can't really say that they weren't on a tear either. But Philadelphia they annihilated teams. I mean, the one game that they lost at the end was when Jalen Hurts got out, and they had to throw Kenny Pickett in the game at Washington, even then they only lost by 3.
Yeah.
But this Philly defense, man, I mean, what a performance by that defensive line. They did not blitz one time in the Super Bowl. I would have thought they were blitzing every play. Jalen Carter is a menace to society, man.
Milton Williams.
Literally.
He was
Literally
everywhere. And shout out, the Eagle, like Zach Bond. Like a dude that came out of nowhere, a special teamer from New Orleans, an all-pro linebacker his first year in Philly. Heck of a turnaround.
Yeah, crazy, but he was really good at Wisconsin when he was there too.
Yes.
Wisconsin and linebackers and defensive players, they know how to.
Running backs.
They always have.
They just have like positions that they're really good at.
Yeah.
I think the Big Ten as a whole has really good positions like
corn-fed
Iowa,
linebackers.
You got tight ends and you got offensive linemen. But
the trenches.
Yeah, I think Kansas City they got down late and they thought that they were going to be able to get back. They didn't run the ball. Is the problem.
They didn't run the ball.
They had
well
16 rushing
Kareem
yards,
Hunt.
and they didn't use Isaiah Pacheco. He's still getting back from injury, and they just did not have a fluid running game. They tried to get back into the game. Travis Kelce played terribly. 3rd and short was really where Philadelphia put them in a strong, a chokehold early. Yeah. That's how they got them off the field, which not many teams can do against the Chiefs. And Philadelphia just capitalized when they needed to. Early, there was that pass interference that I think a lot of people were like, oh, here we go again. But next time Philadelphia has the ball, they call it right back on them, which you can go either way on that call that was made. But Philadelphia didn't let it get to them. They capitalized right away, and they put the Chiefs behind them, and they never let them, get back into the ball game. That's the problem with all of the penalties, and you understand that yes, it's annoying that the Chiefs get late game penalties. Don't let them get in that situation. Philadelphia didn't let this game get to that, and they put them away early and they never let them back up.
I completely agree. To me, this was a game of matchups, and the Chiefs, in my opinion, had one favorable matchup in the entire position group in the Super Bowl, and that was quarterback. They had a better quarterback. Mahomes is the best. Tight end, Kelce does not look like him, man. Kelce his age is showing, and if he doesn't retire this year, it's next year. But the Eagles had him beat in every position on the defensive side of the ball and offense except for quarterback. And to me, it's like, look at this. Philadelphia Eagles last year, they had Matt Patricia running the defense. We'll get to that, at another time, as he has a new job. But they looked terrible last year. Their defense was 30th in points given up a game. They just let teams run the ball all over them and pass the ball all over them. And what Jeff Lurie did and Howie Roseman, they went and got Saquon, which Saquon had the best year in a running back has had since Adrian Peterson, maybe.
Statistically, most yards of all time if you include postseason.
Yeah. And just the defensive side of the ball, it's crazy what an offseason could do. They drafted Quinyon Mitchell, who, congrats Quinyon, by the way, on winning your Super Bowl as your rookie year. A great dude. Cooper DeJean, a fantastic phenom corner who showed that he can play and he can play well. Zach Bond, another offseason acquisition. I don't know what else you want to say. This Eagles team, they revamped their defense in the offseason, and that's why they're champs.
Yeah, Philadelphia, from the very beginning, it was belt to ass, and they had no let up. They let out a lot of anger from that previous Super Bowl from 2 years ago. And for me, offensively, when we're talking about the quarterback situation, Jalen Hurts deserves a lot more credit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because Jalen Hurts, he put on a clinic offensively himself, and he deserves a lot more respect across the league and maybe thought of as a more elite quarterback than he's been given credit because, we've seen both times now against Kansas City, he's been able to dice them up on the offensive side. It was 34-0 before Kansas City got on the board. This felt like that Seattle-Denver Super Bowl. We haven't had a Super Bowl like that since this one, since Seattle-Denver, with an absolute blowout. And Philadelphia on both sides of the ball, they were just better. And it felt like for a long time, it just felt like it was Philadelphia's Super Bowl to lose. Even though Kansas City has been there, they've been in the moment. But Philadelphia was just a better team.
Yeah.
Simple as that. Mahomes, still Mahomes. But yes, you have a lot of aging pieces in Kansas City, and you can argue that they didn't necessarily have a true one. And if there had a true one, he might have been out for most of the season.
Yeah.
And Rashee Rice. But it just felt like Philadelphia just asserted their dominance and just
Time to get their revenge.
made their statement of like, we're here to stay too now.
Yeah,
you know?
and people can say all they want about Jalen Hurts. He's a game manager, that he's all that, not that good. Jalen Hurts is a winner, man. All he does is win.
Yep.
And you can't, I mean, you can take credit where it's due. Jalen Hurts played really good in that Super Bowl. He had that interception that wasn't all that great.
Yeah.
But he made the plays when he needed to. He can use his legs when, they needed it. And at the end of the day, he hits the wide open guys, and he gives the ball off when he needs to. You don't need a superstar quarterback to win Super Bowls.
Yeah.
You can win with game managers.
There's a lot of dudes that I feel happy for Philadelphia. One maybe not more than Mekhi Becton, because you're talking about a tackle who was looked at as one of the worst tackles in football with the Jets. And he has bounced back into maybe one of the best on this roster in Philadelphia. And that entire offensive line, I think there's a lot of question marks once Jason Kelce retired, what they were going to do with the center position. They've got that fixed. Their tackles are elite. Their guards are elite. It's probably the best offensive line unit we have, outside of Detroit when healthy. And they balled. Jordan Mailata?
Yeah, Jordan Mailata is absolutely the most underappreciated tackle in the NFL.
Yep.
Yes.
He has consistently been an absolute mauler for the past
Lane Johnson
8 years,
too.
I think he's been.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, they just continuously, it's like a revolving door of great offensive,
I'd be forgetting Lane
lineman
Johnson's
that
still there in Philadelphia,
Lane Johnson
too.
Yeah,
is
he's still there. Yeah.
Yeah, and another guy to feel good about that he was under a lot of scrutiny, Nick Sirianni.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nick Sirianni, after last year, I mean, Eagles fans want him out. They hate this dude. And you get him out. He had a first round exit in a wild card game against Tampa last year. But man, this team played their ass off for him.
Yeah.
And they just looked dominant almost all year. The first few weeks they didn't look great, but ever since they went 2-2, I mean, they went on a run. And then this playoffs, I mean, they did what they needed to do. And Sirianni proved that, I mean, he's got an extra few years now. He won a Super Bowl. But just give coaches time. Let them adjust things. Because, when you have Patricia's a DC, you're not always going to win games.
And we'll get into that topic a little bit later. But, no, yes, I think that's the issue of the NFL being an absolute revolving door is sometimes you need to give these guys time. We saw it in college football this year with our national champion and Ryan Day. You got to give guys time sometimes, and it eventually will pay off. And Nick Sirianni, he fits Philadelphia, He really does. His attitude.
He's a trash talker.
Trash talking, the cockiness of him kind of fits the city of brotherly love. I don't see how he could be a coach anywhere else, to be honest with you. He fits Philadelphia perfectly. And Philadelphia is here to stay, and they've always been here to stay. They've been the most consistent team in the NFC outside of San Francisco for the last 20 years.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
I could see them being the new Niners.
yeah.
The last guy I'll give flowers to is Jake Elliott. Because Jake Elliott, I don't know if anybody remembers this, but several years ago, he hit the longest field goal in then NFL history against the Giants to win. It was like 59 yards or something like that. And the last 2 years, he has stunk it up. And then he goes into this Super Bowl and was brilliant.
Yep.
I mean, everything they needed to do, they did perfectly, and he hit every kick that he needed to hit.
Every false start called too on those kicks.
And yeah, I mean, he even made the ones that didn't even count.
He was right down the middle, too. He nailed them.
Yeah, and I think the one thing about this game that was interesting to me is 2 years ago when they lost the Super Bowl, they were up and could have went up 2 scores, and Jalen Hurts fumbled the ball, and the Chiefs took it in for a touchdown. This year, they were up 2 scores, and Cooper DeJean gets that interception. And in my opinion,
That was the
that
game
felt
sealer.
like
On his
the
birthday.
coffin nails right there.
Yep.
Was like, oh, okay, so that might be it. And everybody was like, oh, it's rigged.
28-3.
They might 28-3. Here we go, again. But in all seriousness, that was the dagger right there. And
Their heart was taken out right then.
Yeah,
You could tell.
Shout out Xavier Worthy, played very well, but
The one thing on my leg that hit,
I'll never understand how Cooper DeJean fell to 40 in the draft.
I don't understand how Cooper DeJean wasn't a first-round pick either.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
It's funny. I had
Jalen Hurts wasn't either,
another
though.
thing on my leg that hit was that Saquon Barkley was going to have more receiving yards than Travis Kelce, and he did.
Yeah, and Saquon did not have a good game on the ground.
No, he didn't.
No, he didn't.
They prepared 2 weeks of stopping Saquon, and they forgot about everybody else.
A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert.
Dallas Goedert had a
Devontae
great game.
Smith.
A.J. Brown, man,
Good for him.
he doesn't get talked about that much, but he's a top 10 dude. He just has to be. I mean, one-on-one,
Yes.
you almost want him one-on-one more than anybody else in the league sometimes. You might take Jay Jettas, you might take Jamar Chase, but that dude, he is that good.
Size-wise, I mean,
Yep.
Yeah,
There's no DB that can
size-wise,
guard
speed-wise, the way he's able to.
he's a better DK. He's a more efficient DK Metcalf.
Yeah, DK is good too.
They both went to Ole Miss.
Yes.
Same? Did they go at the same time?
Yes, they were. I think so. But he's a more
Well, I think
efficient.
it
He's
went
basically
DK and then AJ got drafted the year
something like
later,
that.
right?
They were on the team at the same time. I know that.
Yeah.
To me, he's basically what we thought DK Metcalf would be.
Yeah. And
Is
he was
A.J.
good
Brown.
He was
DK's
good in
not
Tennessee.
bad. I mean,
He's not
DK's
bad, but
AJ
here's the
was good in
thing.
Tennessee too.
There's a lot of disgruntled people in Seattle. That's a name to watch out this offseason. Does DK Metcalf get moved
Well,
from
with
Seattle in the
JSN,
trade?
the way he's stepped up this past year.
Yeah, shout out that Titans trade for A.J. Brown. They drafted Traylon Burks just for him to have 2 total touch. Actually, I don't think he has 2. I think he has 1.
I liked Traylon Burks, but it was a bad situation. You have to replace A.J. Brown.
Yeah, there was.
Yeah.
I was a big
nobody-
Traylon
yeah.
Burks guy coming out of college, but I mean,
That was a bad trade. Looking back on it now.
it's just guys. Here's the moral of the story: pay your players that you know should be paid.
You watching Cincinnati?
Jamar Chase is coming up here. T. Higgins is coming up. You want to keep that unit around in Cincinnati, you better pay your guys.
Yeah,
You
that's
better
another
change
The
that.
segment.
cheapest
better change
owners
that
you can
de-
see.
better-
That's another
You better
segment,
change that
man.
defense.
But in reality, like, we all knew Tennessee should have paid A.J. Brown. There was no reason to trade him. You gave him to the best general manager in the NFL right now, and Howie Roseman. Of course, Howie was licking his chops when he found that out. But pay your players. It's simple. Pay them. The ones you know that deserve the money.
Yep.
Regardless of if it's too much for you guys or it doesn't feel like a team-friendly deal. Sometimes just pay them, and maybe you'll see the best come out of them. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you don't. Shout out Albert Hainsworth, but, you know, it happens. But pay your guys.
It's funny how.
Or else they'll
people-
go somewhere else.
It's funny how people talk about Howie Roseman and how great he is, and yet just right when they drafted Jalen Hurts, people hated that pick. They hated that pick.
Because it was that
The
was when
day
Carson
before,
Wentz.
they picked Jalen Rager over Justin Jefferson. The 2 drafts prior to that, they were terrible.
Yes.
It was awful the way that they drafted. And then the past 4 drafts, he's hit on almost every one of them.
Yep.
Every single one.
Jalen Carter, Jalen's hunk. This past year, he just drafted those 2 cornerbacks. I mean, like
Nolan
Howie
Smith, even, for another
Jordan
forgotten
Davis.
guy.
he's not scared to pay guys, but he's also not scared to trade for guys.
Yes.
And that's a problem that a lot of teams have in the NFL is that they have a good team, but they're scared to pay their guys and they're scared to trade for guys.
And
Howie Roseman don't care. Les Snead, you look at Les Snead, man. He
Yes.
sold his soul for a Super Bowl, and even though he has, in my opinion, a top 3 head coach in the NFL in Sean McVay,
Yes.
regardless, that dude could take the Bears to the Super Bowl. I'm being serious.
He really could. No,
He
Sean McVay
seriously
is
could.
like that.
Sean
yeah.
McVay is like that. But, Howie Roseman was not looked at as this guy that was awesome. He looked at as a guy that made a lot of crazy moves that did not work out. And it just so happened that he put the right amount of guys around him, and it has now gotten done. And I think it's a good testament to, what Spencer said, is just wait and see what happens.
They drafted, these last few drafts, like you said.
Just brilliant.
Unbelievable.
They drafted a lot of the guys that
And they all fell
might
to
not
him.
have been. Yeah,
Quinyon
exactly.
fell to him. Cooper DeJean fell to him. Jalen Carter, he was picked at 9.
He
but
was gonna
could
be
have
a
been
top
5
3,
pick.
top
Me
5.
and Christian were advocating for the Lions to take him a few years
Oh,
ago.
that draft was something.
Well, Jalen
That
Carter
draft night
wasn't
was
that
something.
easy to draft, though.
Well, for obvious reasons.
Shout out Laramie Tunsil, man.
Do you think the Eagles care?
Oh, no.
I was going to say,
Philadelphia,
he could
man.
he could be a scumbag if he's a top 5, defensive tackle. I don't care.
And the
if you
moral-
win me Super Bowls, you could be a scumbag off the
And
field.
the
I don't care.
moral of the story is, regardless of what anyone says about the moral high ground in the NFL,
They
it
do
never
not care.
happens.
They do
They don't
not
care.
care.
If you can win,
You are above the
Ray
law, brother.
Lewis, Ben Roethlisberger,
It's true.
Vontez Burfict. These are all great players, but they weren't.
Let's not even get
Right.
started.
I kind of
on
wanted,
the
I
NBA,
kind of wanted to
man.
bounce off your thing though of what you were saying about how They're not scared to trade. They're not
not
scared to make
trade for
moves.
people, man.
There's a lot of teams that aren't scared to make moves. The issue is
They make bad moves.
they make the bad moves, and then it sets their team back. Shout out
Raiders.
to Cleveland Browns. But, you know,
See, there are bad moves and there are bad moves, and the Browns make bad moves, man.
it's weird because they make for every 2 good moves they make 3 egregiously awful
2
moves.
years prior, when Deshaun Watson was like MVP, and they make that trade. Okay, yeah, it's probably a good trade, but they made the worst possible decision ever. They sold their soul for nothing, and
They just made the worst, one of the worst NFL trades of all time.
yeah, it's got.
But I don't think they make awful moves like on top of them. I mean, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah.
No, they're very
Great
good.
draft.
They got good.
They're great
they've
second
drafted
round.
really
Yeah.
well.
It's weird. They drafted really good in the second
Grant
and third round.
Delpit, Martin
Great.
Emerson, Denzel Ward. I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
They have made good draft picks.
no, they make good draft picks. It's just you got to get the quarterback right.
I mean, Jerry Jeudy. They traded.
That'll
him.
never
He's
happen.
Actually, Jerry Judy's looked really good.
That is the one thing that the Browns have never had. They were close to it with Baker. And don't get me wrong, Baker has a lot going for him in Tampa Bay. Like, that Tampa Bay team is comparable to the Eagles when you look at how good they are offensively and defensively through and through.
Very
Balance.
underrated.
Yeah.
But, you know,
He had to work his way back to it.
Baker Mayfield loved being in Cleveland and wanted to be there. Made how many insurance
Progressive.
companies
At home with Baker
commercials, man. I mean, he was literally saying that he was living in
Stadium.
the stadium, and they gave him up because he tore his shoulder and he never got back from it. And
They never gave him the time.
that last year's team, when they made the playoffs with Joe Flacco, had that team had a really good quarterback and a couple more pieces. Don't get me wrong. They still need good wide receivers because for some reason you guys have one good wide receiver and everybody else is like a 5th-round pick that they think is really good. But
That's Andrew Barry. That's
like,
Andrew Barry.
Shout
yeah,
out
they're
Cedric
like,
Tillman.
Cedric Tillman, man, he's
Yep.
the
He's
next
the next
guy.
upcoming.
Or the dude who they
Jam-
drafted
Jamari
from.
Thrash.
Yeah, Jamari Thrash. They're like, nah, we're okay.
Or shout out our
Anthony
boy.
Schwartz, are you
Shout out our.
furious?
Anthony Schwartz, man, my dude.
You want to
so
talk about
many
the
people thought
worst
he was
human
the
being
next.
ever seen dressed up in a football uniform? That's Anthony Schwartz. Actually, I take that
Josh
back.
Gordon.
No, Josh Gordon, one season, dude, may have been the best receiver you've ever seen.
He was legitimately like one of the best dudes. He went to New England and tore it up for like 2 weeks, and then they were like, "Yeah, you got piss in
Shout
this
out
cup,
Jarvis
brother.
Landry.
You got to piss in this cup. Let me tell you what, you're too good."
You're too good, and that man can never pass. That's the one
Which
test
is
I don't
crazy
think he's ever
because
passed.
like you got to think that like 95% of the NFL is doing it.
Oh, they do. They just target the ones that already got caught once before.
Get
That's
that
usually what
money.
happens.
Yep.
That's usually what happens. But
Don't get on the list.
you know, so I want to pivot this discussion to the losers. What happens moving forward here with Kansas City? What do they need to change, and what, is this maybe not necessarily the end of a dynasty, but is it maybe a decline over the next couple seasons? We may see some AFC teams get over the hump next couple years.
You know
What's
who
your
the
opinions
Chiefs
on
need to
that?
get? This move. Well, one, I think Travis Kelce. I think he needs to be done. He's old. He's not what he once was. I mean, he was just out there jogging in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Noah Gray is a serviceable tight end. He's not no Travis Kelce, but he can be serviceable with Mahomes. T. Higgins would be a great fit in Kansas City.
Yeah, he'd be a great fit.
And I know that it hurts, you're a Bengals fan, but like Mahomes and T. Higgins with, Juju and Rashee Rice, who's going to be healthy. Rashee Rice was fantastic before he got injured. That's going to be a nasty offense. That defense doesn't really need to change, in my opinion. I think they just had a bad game. And the Chiefs' offense did them no favors, with the interceptions and just them not scoring at all in the first half. But they need to retain Steve Spagnuolo, which I think they will. Offensively, I don't think they need to change much other than, the free agents and stuff. And they also have to see the future of Andy Reid. Andy Reid's no spring chicken. He's very old. They need to see how many years he's got left, and they need to decide who's going to be his heir. Because this Chiefs team,
Steve Spagnuolo.
they want to keep going after. And if it is Steve Spagnuolo, I don't know. But, Matt Nagy.
I think he could.
How about that?
yeah,
Honestly, Nagy's also been a very good offensive coordinator. For
he's
us.
been
been good.
awful. Look at the last 2 years. Look at Patrick Mahomes' stats the last 2 years compared to when Eric Bieniemy was his offensive coordinator.
You realize Andy
Night
Reid
and-
called
Yeah,
the
but Eric
plays with
Bieniemy also had
though.
Tyreek
Huh?
Hill.
Eric Bieniemy also had
He had
Tyreek Hill.
Tyreek Hill.
But also, Andy Reid was
Well,
the
I
one
mean,
calling
that's
the
not-
plays.
The Chiefs don't have a Tyreek Hill right
But-
now.
Andy Reid's still running the offense, even though they have a coordinator.
Yeah, okay. But here's the thing, though, is Nagy is still a part of that. Just
think
because
he's been terrible.
I think he's been awful. I mean, don't get me wrong, that defense has gotten a lot better over the next few years. Regardless, I don't think Nagy should have a job in the NFL regardless because he's terrible. But maybe it's just because he killed the Bears, and I think that set him back. But
I don't think he killed
here's
the
my
Bears.
thing with the
I
Chiefs,
think the
man.
Bears killed themselves more than anything else.
The Bears just are the Bears.
Yeah.
So.
Here's the thing with the Chiefs, man, is they've got 3 dudes, and you said 2 of them, that are question marks. What is Travis Kelce going to do? When is Andy Reid going to retire? And what's going to happen with Chris Jones? Actually, not what is going to happen, when is it going to happen?
Right.
Is really the biggest question mark, because Chris Jones has been one of the top D tackles in the NFL year in and year out. He's just not talked about all that much because
He gets overshadowed by the
Mahomes.
Chiefs.
I mean,
by the Chiefs offense.
he is
I should say.
comparable in his impact to what Aaron Donald did. He's not as good as Aaron Donald, but Chris Jones has made the plays year in and year out when they need to.
Yes.
He has eliminated teams offensively by himself a lot of the time. Now, they have gotten better in the depth chart when it comes to defensive linemen, but what's going to happen with him and when is it going to happen? They lost L'Jarius Sneed, which I thought was huge for them last year, even though Trent McDuffie is really, really good. But if they can figure out their wide receiver room, I don't think you bring back Hollywood Brown, in my opinion. I just don't think it's worth it.
Injury sake. And
Just injury sake, and, I think Rashee Rice is great. Stay away from T. Higgins. I think they need to go out and get another running back. I don't think Kareem Hunt can do it anymore. Shout out to him. Don't love him.
Pacheco's okay.
But, shout out to him for being the Toledo Rocket.
You've got Rico Dowdle in free agency, who's going to be available, one of the top running backs. You got Najee Harris, who's going to be available.
Yeah,
who won't be a
you can-
Steeler next
you
year.
Or, hey, go out and
Aaron
draft,
Jones.
There's
go,
a lot
go
of
draft
there-
Ashton Genty.
There's a
Genty,
lot of...
the draft class for the running back room
It's pretty
is
good.
very deep. Honestly, it's probably the second or third deepest position group in this draft class.
I could see them. Genty is going to be, in my opinion, a late first-round pick. I could see them drafting
I think
him.
2 running backs are going in
Which
the
I think
first
is
round.
crazy
That's my
because
take.
he's going to drop because of how long it's been since the college football season.
Yep.
And everybody, that happens every year. Like, I think Cooper DeJean, like you said, dropped because of how much time was in
People
between.
forgot about Iowa football because we were watching the
And then they
playoffs.
always find the guys who are like traits, though. The traits like the Tyree Wilsons out of Texas
and the guys
Tech.
that are,
Jalen Walker
whatever.
from Georgia is going to be that guy. Jalen Walker is
He
not getting out the top 10.
He's going to be there. But, no, I think it's interesting to see what happens with the Chiefs. And those are the 3 big dominoes that at some point are going to fall. And I don't know who replaces Andy Reid. I don't even think they stick with somebody who's in the building, if we're being honest.
I think they hire out.
I think they go with somebody else. No, they are not that organization.
No, they're not. No, they're not.
They are not that organization. But they have, over the years, been super well at when people leave, they fill them in. But those are 3 of the 4 or 5 pieces that have really shaped this dynasty, which they are, a dynasty.
Yes.
Over the past 10 years. What happens to them and who they bring in to replace them will determine what happens with them.
Yeah.
You said it before we came on that you don't think that they will, fall off.
No.
But
I don't think they're the top team in the NFL
I
anymore.
think there was just a culmination, and that's what it turned out to be. And going for 3 is tough, man. You get no off season primarily. You get no real time before you get back to work. And you do that 3 years straight, it's going to be really tough for them to get back into that. Maybe they come back hungrier next year.
Yeah.
And they just show everybody, hey, we're still it, blah, blah, blah. But if that's not the case, you could be seeing the Ravens get their shot next year. You could see the Bills get their shot next year. Anybody else? I'm not really quite. You could see the Dolphins, dude. I'm being serious.
If healthy.
The Dolphins they feel like they've been coming for years and years and years. That's another segment we could do. But like I said, I mean, I don't know what happens with them, but I think it's a when and not a what.
I think they need a little shakeup. I'm not saying coaching wise, but I think they need pieces offensively. Mahomes was somewhat limited, it seemed like, in the Super Bowl. Kelsey wasn't the same, and their wide receivers, they were running out there like Juju, and Xavier Worley's nice. But your wide receiver 1 rookie, I don't think it should really be your wide receiver 1 if he was a rookie, especially if he's picked 30. But they lost Rashee Rice, and I think he was really having his up-and-coming year.
All he needs to do is to stay away from a car. He'll be all right.
To me, it's are they a dynasty? Yeah, absolutely. But will they continue this dynasty? I don't know. It's, the thing about the Patriots, when they had their dynasty, they retained their coordinators. Josh McDaniels and Tom Brady were always eye to eye. They retained their, head coach, obviously, their quarterback, and their main pieces. The Chiefs have done that, but they need to build around them.
Yeah.
It seems like it's just like Mahomes, Kelsey, and Chris Jones, and then supporting cast. While Nick Bolton and Trent McDuffie have done wonders on that
too,
defense.
off the edge,
has been doing much better.
Good piece.
They need to add a little more, in my opinion.
Yes.
They need to add a running back. They need to add a wide receiver, and they need to retain. They need to retain their
offensive
coaches.
line. Apparently,
They need to retain, or what they need to do. They need to get a receiver that's not at the final stage of their career.
Higgins makes a ton of sense.
They need to get a younger guy.
Will he do that? I don't think so. I don't think he.
Money talks, though.
But,
Money talks
yeah.
if they want to pony it up. I mean, I see the
But
Chargers
they're gonna have
or
to pay
Patriots
Chris
or Packers
Jones,
willing
and
to pay more.
they're gonna have to pay Trent McDuffie soon and Nick Bolton. But who knows, man?
It's hard to retain, and I mean, if you look at the Patriots dynasty, it really lasted over a course of a decade and a half, and they had to
without winning a Super Bowl.
They had to rotate
Yeah,
guys in and out. I mean, you had guys early on like Vince Wilfork, who just wasn't there towards the later half of their dynasty. You had guys like Teddy Bruschi, who's now on TV. So I think we're at that point right now in this dynasty of Kansas City where it is at that maybe.
This is the most important offseason in the Chiefs dynasty.
Yes,
because they got to figure out some things. While I still think they are the top of the AFC because they beat the Bills, they beat everybody.
Literally until proven otherwise.
Until Buffalo
won't
beats the Chiefs, you can't say anything.
And even Baltimore's had their
Baltimore,
chance before.
yeah, both of them.
there's one team that's beat them.
There is one team that has beat them.
Remember Burrowhead?
Burrowhead
That
Stadium.
lasted 2 years.
I hated that so much, man. When their mayor came, and that was like the time where like people were really starting to use like bulletin board material.
Oh, yeah.
And like because the Chiefs and Bills game got moved or whatever, and the Bengals used that as like their bulletin board, and then that happens. That's the worst loss I've ever experienced as a fan, even comparable to the Super Bowl. But that's the thing is like everybody wants to say the Bengals, and not everybody you hear says the Bengals, but they are the only team that's been able to prevent them from getting to the Super Bowl in the last 6 years.
Yeah.
You're right.
The one thing is that if they can figure it out, they can do it again.
They need to. They need an entire defensive rehaul.
Oh, yeah.
Here's the
They need a
difference
lot.
between Baltimore, Cincinnati, and Buffalo. One of those teams has a quarterback that's got that it factor when it matters, and that's Joe Burrow in Cincinnati. The other two are very elite MVP players all the time, but when it does matter the most, they do kind of crumble when Joe Burrow thrives.
I will also say this. I think the one thing that has helped Cincinnati out compared to Buffalo and Baltimore is Lady Luck. I'm being so serious with you. You got to have luck on your side, man. And Baltimore has not had luck on their side, and neither has Buffalo.
No, not even close.
I mean, that's just what it is. You have to have luck. If you're going to be in a close game, which all of them always are because they're two really good teams, you got to have luck. And unfortunately, the football gods hate Buffalo. And
More than anybody else.
They hate Buffalo.
Hold on. Here's a
They said
hypothetical.
you want to jump into it. 4 straight Super Bowl losses, man.
Yeah,
that would be the worst thing ever. I mean,
Here's the
at that point, you
hypothetical.
wouldn't even want to go.
Well, who would win in a Buffalo-Cleveland AFC Championship game if it ever happened?
I think.
What would happen? What would
they
be the
would
outcome?
somehow
I think-
get a tie.
You ever seen
Somehow there'd be a tie.
You ever seen The Dark Knight Rises?
Yes.
With
That's
Bane?
what would happen.
Bane would just show
come
up.
up onto the field and like you'd just be like,
Darkness
"Nah, I'm done with
falls."
this." See, here's the thing: where would it even be? No, they
was
wouldn't send a
born in-
CBS truck to Cleveland, bro.
I was born in the darkness, raised in it.
You're telling me they wouldn't send a CBS truck?
No,
there?
they wouldn't. They'd be like, "We're moving this to Atlanta, man."
Ball and Beats podcast will be the host.
I'd do it. Shout out WXUT, man.
Exactly. There you go. But really, though, I think for Kansas City and what they need to do, yeah, you guys have pretty much hit a lot of those points of the future of certain guys that really isn't a lot of future. It's about time for them to hang it up. And who are those next guys to step up? Where can they get them? Are they in-house guys, or do you have to go out in free agency or draft more? It is definitely the crossroads right here for Kansas City. Yeah. And is it at the point of a decline? Maybe. Yeah, it is. Do they make a Super Bowl next year? Maybe not. Maybe they don't. Do they make it next couple years? Maybe not. But until proven otherwise, I mean, they've only played.
Yeah, you can't say
they played in 5 of the last 6 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
and Mahomes has never not
been in the AFC title game.
Yes, he's always been in the AFC title game every season he's played, and he's only lost in it twice.
Yeah, he's only lost to 2 quarterbacks in playoffs.
Yeah,
that's it. Just 2.
Brady and Burrow.
That's why they lost this weekend, because Brady was on the call.
Oh, I guess now 3. I didn't even think about that.
Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, I know. I saw a lot of those.
Brady was involved.
Shout out to Cooper DeJean, man. He had our
also,
Jackie Robinson.
We got to have a conversation about Brady. Brady is a terrible color commentator.
I love Greg Olsen, man.
He's so
Greg Olsen,
bad.
Dude.
Yeah, Kevin, it was a great play. You remember back in Super Bowl 51 when I came back from a 28-3 lead? Maybe the Chiefs left something like that. Shut up, Tom.
Yeah.
He's not a color commentator.
But he will be molded into one because he's one of the best. And they're trying to make him the next, Troy Aikman and this and that. And you got to give him some time. The unfortunate part is that
the amount of money he's paid? No, you better be good from the get-go.
Understandable, but to be fair, he did everything he needed to do on the field to get the opportunity. While it should have gone to Greg Olsen, in my opinion, because he was so terrific during the Super Bowl 2 years ago, it's because it's Tom Brady. So he needs just some time. The unfortunate part is that he got the Super Bowl. It should have been Greg Olsen. In all reality.
Personally, if I'm Fox, I would entice Joel Klatt to do NFL games too, because I think Joel Klatt's one of, if not the best color commentator in football. But that's just my opinion. I know it's different vibes.
I know you're gonna hate this.
But
you don't
it's
like Chris
Joel.
Collinsworth. It is. It just is, man. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to be the guy that says it, but he's got a bad voice. But you watch.
I love Patrick Mahomes.
Patrick Mahomes.
Patrick Mahomes.
Here's
Josh
a guy.
Allen,
here's a guy. What a pass by himself. Anyways,
that looked a little
Could you imagine him in an AFC title game, Mahomes versus Allen?
Here's the thing.
Oh my God, he'd be out of his mind.
It should be Tony Romo. It should be.
Romo's not
Romo,
good
after 1 year, dude, was
and
like
Troy
elite.
Aikman is good, but Troy Aikman's been doing it so long, man. He just I think he just don't care sometimes.
I don't know, Jim. Josh Allen, he's looking a little Mahomey out there.
But in my opinion, it's Chris Collinsworth, man. You watch their games, and yes, when he's not glazing, he is the best.
That's all he does is glaze.
But when you look
he
at,
could be calling a UFL game. He was like, the little
right,
this
but
play
when
looks
you
like
look at,
Patrick Mahomes.
When you look at pre-snap to post-snap analysis, he is the best in the game. Tony Romo is the best pre-snap.
he handed that ball off like Patrick
There
Mahomes.
is one. I think there's a better. I think there's a better option. Who should be the people that should be on NFL games are the Ball and Beats podcast.
I agree. I think we should have Andrew Holman be main color for Super Bowl 60.
Dude, while the Bengals are there against the 49ers, because the 49ers are coming back this year, guaranteed.
With what defense?
It's going to be Bengals, 49ers, man. I'm guaranteeing it.
Who's
49ers?
Do you guys resurrect the 85
North,
Bears or something?
The 49ers, listen, the 49ers are either in the NFC Championship / Super Bowl, or they are 4 wins because all of their roster is injured. Yep. You look at the last 6 years, that is what it is. They are either in the Super Bowl, NFC Championship, or have 3 wins.
It's actually the last 20.
Because it's
actually crazy.
They are going to be back next year. I hope. I don't like Brock Purdy, but you know,
the Lions.
I think he's pretty mid, but it's gonna be 49ers Bengals, man. You heard it here now. Come back to this in a
Lions
year.
will take care
You'll
of them.
see
Don't
me
worry.
pointing at you, and I'm gonna say you knew I was right.
So way too early predictions for Super Bowl 60.
I love it because those color matchups are beautiful, man. A little orange and black against the red and gold.
You know, with this new Super Bowl logo for Super Bowl 60, they decided to
whole
put
bunch
every
of colors.
They put every color just to make sure, there's no way they can get this.
It looks like a pride flag. Like it's just
It kinda
rainbow.
does
They
look like a
put
flag, yeah.
Cleveland Brown in there.
They did put a little brown. They put a little red. They put a little
Yellow.
Honolulu blue.
Yeah,
They put a
yeah,
little Charger yellow in there, or even their blue.
Chargers Lions.
Chargers
American
Lions.
Super Bowl.
Oh God.
How that's the least fans.
Man,
ever
they
would-
gotta
It'd
beat
be
the
all
Texans
Lions fans. I
first,
just want
man.
you to know it.
Oh yeah, there'd be like maybe 5 Chargers fans there, and
So-
one of the men behind the camera might be there.
My preseason Super Bowl prediction for Super Bowl 60. We're gonna go Detroit Lions out the NFC, and
The Cleveland Browns. With Shadur Sanders winning rookie offensive player of the year and MVP.
What a beautiful day it would
Yeah.
be for the Northwest Ohio.
Northwest
I
Ohio
told
would
them. I said
burn
Northwest
to the
Ohio would
ground.
burn to the ground if it was ever Browns and Lions.
just
my
know if
God,
either
man.
team makes the Super Bowl, it's only against each other.
How about
It'll
this?
never be
It'll
any
never
other
be
way.
just one.
How about this? It's Ohio State and Michigan in the national championship, and Cleveland, Detroit in the Super Bowl. This place, oh my God, nobody would
Toledo-
be friends
no,
for
Toledo
years.
would
Toledo,
burn.
Toledo,
Toledo
Someone-
is the crossroads right there, man. It would burn to the ground.
Someone would make sure Davis Bessie somehow blows up, so that way we're just all done. But really, though,
Yeah, we would.
Detroit's making Super Bowl
we'd
next
be
year. I'm
more
just letting you
affected
know.
by radiation
Who's winning the
there,
AFC?
but-
Who's winning the AFC? We're gonna say Bengals.
Give it to us.
We're gonna say
We're
Bengals are gonna
coming
bounce
back for vengeance.
They're gonna lose everything on defense, and they're gonna somehow get Myles Garrett to be on their defensive line next year. No, I'm just kidding. That's not
No.
happening.
We're bringing in Josh Sweat.
They're bringing in Josh Sweat.
Yeah. Dax Hill is coming back. He's going to be the AFC
please.
Defensive Player of the Year next year.
Yeah, 40 points a game given up
Should
every
start
game.
Tyson Anderson instead. Shout out Toledo.
Oh, Tyson is bad, man.
Don't be saying that.
He's a good special teams player for sure, but defensively, he's like a rock out there. He couldn't guard a parked car.
What's your Super Bowl prediction then?
Okay.
Way
so-
too early.
Way too early. Yeah. I
Way
was gonna
too
say.
early. Super Bowl 60 predictions.
Collinsworth's going to be on the call next year, by the way.
It's gonna be Kansas
The
City.
last
Detroit.
time,
It's gonna be Kansas
the last
City.
time,
Let me rescind that. Kansas City, Detroit.
that,
All right.
the
Just
la-
Kansas City.
the
The Chiefs
last-
would be the only team that shows up.
The
Yeah.
last time Chris Collinsworth and Mike Tirico were on a Super Bowl call, it was Bengals versus Rams.
See that? I don't understand that. I thought it was every 3 years they cycle in.
It goes NBC, CBS, Fox,
Fox.
and then I think it is like a
CBS,
no. It
Fox,
went
NBC.
NBC, Fox, CBS. This year it was Fox, and then I think it's
Next year's NBC.
NBC, and
Then
then
I think-
probably the next year is CBS.
It's either CBS, but I think in the future, I think ABC is gonna have one as well
Really?
in a new contract that they've had. I think
Okay.
ABC
True
is gonna
TV is
have
going to be in there too.
one. TBS.
TBS.
The
TBS actually probably wouldn't do a bad.
TBS would do a great production.
Yeah, they would probably-
Turner or TNT, they would.
They'd have a better
thrive.
score bug
Oh my
than whenever
gosh.
I was looking at, man.
That
I'd
new
love to have Ernie Johnson, at the Super Bowl.
What kind of 2004 Chiron system were they using for that, man?
I think
Come
all
on,
the
man.
budget went to the halftime show, and they gave $50 to the guy to make the new scorebook.
Me and
because
Cameron Fonstock. You listening to me, NBC? Me and Cameron Fonstock, guy behind this camera right here. We will create the next scorebug for y'all next year.
Terrible.
and it'd be a lot better.
Fox
than
It
what
would be
Fox
beautiful.
Fox.
It would be beautiful.
I think that they just went on
We'll even
Microsoft Paint and
we'll use-
just it
I'm
took
pretty,
like 5
I'm
minutes.
pretty
and, like,
certain our
put on
weekly picks graphic looks
we'll,
better.
we'll
than
use
Um,
ENPS for you, and I guarantee you it'll work.
So my too early Super Bowl prediction is going to be the Battle of Lake Erie. It's going to be Bills Lions. It's going to be shout versus forward down the field. Dark blue versus light blue. Detroit Buffalo. Josh Allen, Jared Goff. And I'm going to hear
Yikes.
Chris Collinsworth go, "Oh, Jared Goff, what a guy." I was going to say nothing.
We're just don't
Here's-
worry. In post, we're gonna
See,
edit a song that makes this man sound dumb. 'cause
Here's
he
the
is-
thing, though, man. I just, I would love to see the Lions make it. I really would. I just don't know if it's Goff that can do it for him.
Hendon Hooker's the answer.
Stop.
Because listen, Jared Goff's story is actually pretty cool, man. About how they kind of just shipped him off to this cold little place called Detroit.
Watch out.
And
Watch
he
it.
kind of brought them back up with a group of people that loved being there. But losing your offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, pretty much most of
You know
the
who else
other
did that?
staff,
Coach, yeah.
man.
You know who else lost their offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator? The Eagles last year.
Well, But the Eagles went to a Super Bowl before all that happened.
But the Eagles have actually
We
been
were at the
successful.
cusp of a Super Bowl.
The Eagles
we
actually
probably
have been
should
a
have.
good franchise.
I think
Watch
that
it.
I really do like Goff, and I think, man, Jahmyr Gibbs is really tough, and I think we're going to see a different side of Gibbs next year from what this offense brings. And I think Jameson Williams as well. I don't think there will be as much trickery, but I think there will be more stability throughout the offense and how it runs.
Run, pass.
Their
pass.
offensive coordinator.
I really like Jared Goff. I hope that he can get it done, but I don't know if he can. He's been to a Super Bowl before. He put up 3 points, and
that's a lot.
It's more points than the Cleveland Browns have ever gotten.
You can't put everything on the quarterback.
No, you can't.
If dudes aren't getting open, dudes aren't getting open.
You can't, but at the same time, you got to have a good quarterback to win. And I like Jared Goff, and I hope he can do it, but I don't know if he can. That's all I got to say about Detroit Lions. That's it. I love
so
the rest
what are
of
your
their
thoughts
team.
about Brock Purdy?
I think Brock
Who's
Purdy,
better, Jared Goff or Brock Purdy?
I think they're the same quarterback.
Okay, so then Jared Goff can make a Super
Brock
Bowl.
Purdy lost the Super Bowl, too.
Yeah, he
They're
probably
both
should have
0-1.
won it.
Can we talk about why Kyle Shanahan is the most overrated head coach in the NFL?
Ooh.
I don't know about that one,
Overrated.
Jim.
I think
Hear
he's
me
a
out.
top 5 guy.
Hear me out. He might be the best mind in the NFL while also being the worst when it matters the most.
Decision making?
Yes.
Yeah, he's terrible at decision making.
Mike McCarthy has
No,
his fair share of terrible
But here's the thing.
decision-making.
Kyle Shanahan, not just as a head coach, but as an offensive coordinator, has done it, and he has choked each time he's been there. Look at that New England-Atlanta Super Bowl.
He was the
he
offensive
was the
coordinator.
offensive coordinator for the
Yeah.
Falcons then. Oh, yeah, look at both times San
Yikes.
Francisco played Kansas City in the Super Bowl. They had 10-plus point leads on them.
Yikes.
To
Kyle
be fair, he
Shanahan,
had
what has he
Jimmy
done there?
Garoppolo at quarterback, and now looking back,
Jimmy
I think we
G
can
and
all
Brock
understand.
Purdy are the same dude.
They are. It's a systematic thing.
It's a
Yeah.
systematic thing, exactly. But so what? They have the lead all the time. Aren't you supposed to? Maybe the defense. We always talk about their defense.
Well,
Are they supposed to
I
stop
don't know.
them?
At the end of the day, I don't think.
Yeah.
See that narrative of like, oh, blame the head coach for losing a lead. It's on the players too. Players got to execute.
It
you
is,
leave a dude
but
wide open. You
fool
leave a
me
dude wide
once,
open.
shame on you. Fool me twice. Can't put the blame on you.
28-3 was more on Dan
Fool me
Quinn.
3 times.
28-3
Screw
was
the
on
peace
Dan
sign.
Quinn, not Kyle Shanahan.
I think, yeah.
The
I mean-
Niners won. I mean, the Niners kind of just,
I think
they should have won last year.
a
in
lot
my
of people
opinion.
want to say that, Atlanta, they didn't run the ball. Same with the 2 Super Bowls that Kyle Shanahan lost as head coach. But they did try and run the ball, and they didn't, successfully. So you then try and throw the ball, be aggressive, and win the game. And to Spencer's point, they did not capitalize correctly. So, yes, Shanahan has been bad in some of those situations, but at the same time,
You can't put it on your their defense gave up a 25-point lead. Their defense gave that up. The offense got them out to a 28-3 lead. Now, did they not score after that? No. But your defense can also make some plays, not give up a 25-point lead with 17 minutes left in the game.
And the thing about Shanahan, man, is he's had, 5 defensive coordinators now since his time in San Francisco?
Saleh, D'Amico Ryans,
Whoever was there last
whoever.
year.
I couldn't tell you the rest because they
So
were
I guess they've had
Salah's back, too.
Saleh, yep.
4 different changes in defensive
Steve Wilkes
coordinator.
is
Yeah,
another one.
Steve
Steve
Wilkes. I think it's just interesting that
The NFC is going to be very good next year.
it's going to be
It's going
very
to
good.
be very good, and the,
It's-
the Lions will win it.
That's the thing about predicting is you can
never
predict
know.
that blah blah blah, but somebody's going to come out next year and unfortunately tear their ACL in week 1,
Yeah.
or
that's very
somebody's going to
true.
break their hand in week 8 against the Baltimore Ravens throwing a touchdown pass on Thursday Night Football, and there goes your season.
Yeah.
It's so unpredictable.
usually
it's like
every
that
other
human
year.
part that we try and remember.
It's kind of like every other year, so it's actually going to be next year when that happens for Cincinnati. I got you. Thank you.
And then in 2 years, he'll win his 3rd comeback player of the year.
Yeah.
The trophy case is starting to build up, guys. It's great to look at.
Yeah, the
Hey,
trophy
man.
case without the Lombardi.
Those
in it.
three comeback player of the-
comeback player of the years and the AFC title. There you go.
If you actually combine the
What a
comeback
trophy
players
case.
of the year, it makes an MVP
Way more than
award.
anything Cleveland will get. It's all right.
one day
all right.
in our lives,
Before we move off the football topics, I got 2 things to discuss. One bold take of the offseason from both of you.
like draft, free agency.
Draft,
Anything,
trade,
anything,
what are we talking
anything.
about?
Anything. Either, all of those. I've got one.
Okay, go.
Tyreek Hill is going to be a Jacksonville Jaguar
Oh
next
my
season
God.
in a trade.
You think you want to go there?
Who would want to go to Jacksonville?
I said in a trade.
Who'd want to go with Liam Cohen?
In a trade.
Duval.
What's wrong with
Hey, his
Duval?
other video, he looked like a pretty nice guy.
All I'm
a
saying is
weird-looking
when
dude.
you
He is.
say it like that, they're either going 3-14 next season or they're going like 13-4. So
I don't know.
only thing is, here's the thing: Christian Kirk, he's banged up. He's probably not going to be a Jaguar next season. Everyone talks about Trevor Lawrence needing that guy.
Tyreek can
Tyreek-
just go back to Kansas City.
But he's not going back to Kansas City. He's not a free agent.
Maybe he can get traded.
He can get traded.
He's going to get traded.
He's probably going to get traded. I'd say he's going to Jacksonville.
And the Dolphins are going to bottom out.
He's going to Jacksonville to be Trevor Lawrence's number one target. And Jacksonville is going to take a next step forward with Liam Cohen. Not saying they're going to, make the playoffs or anything like Tennessee, but
You sure?
I'm
They're
sure
going to
I'm not
be
gonna say
right
that.
back in that same
They're
spot
going to be a
next
solid
year.
8-9.
They're going to be a solid 5-12 next year.
8-9. Give them that.
My big, I think the Raiders are going to trade Max Crosby to the Green Bay Packers. Those have already, like, whatever you want to say when it comes to reports or whatever you want to try and believe on Twitter, because that's just like a pay thing now where like people just they're literal meme accounts. Twitter like isn't real. I'm not trying to be like a conspiracy.
Twitter's funny.
I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist, but like that's literally what it is at this point. There are real people that report, but a lot of it is just fake at this point. But Max Crosby is on a bad team, and at some point he's going to want to ask out, and that defense for the Eagles has like 7 pass rushers that are good. And I think Green Bay has a really good pass rusher out of Michigan named Rashawn Gary. They need one more. And I think money-wise, it's perfect for the Green Bay Packers because you don't really have to pay another guy. Kenny Clark is getting a little older. He is still really good, though. But I think I think it's a perfect trade for them. I think they trade probably a 2nd or 3rd round pick. And I think Max Crosby is going to be a Green Bay Packer next year.
Okay. I can see it. The Max Crosby thing is weird with me because he seemed like he was like getting good with Pete Carroll at his press conference, and they seemed like buddy. But it makes sense for Crosby to leave Vegas.
Yeah.
The Raiders just need to start over, and Crosby's one of the best DNs in football, and it would make sense for him to go to a team like Green Bay.
I know what Spencer's going to say already.
I have
think I
one,
know what
and
he's
then I
gonna
have
say.
a question. Well, I have one, and then I also have a question after this. To me, it makes the most sense.
I already know what he's going to say. It's going to irk my
It
soul.
would make this team, in my opinion, the Super Bowl favorite.
It's not happening.
Make the Super
It's
Bowl
not
favorite.
happening.
see
You
this?
already know.
You see this team right here?
Well, I mean, based
Do you
on
see
your
this team
reaction.
right here? This team is going to have a defensive line that consists of DJ Reader. Shout out Cincinnati for not paying him.
You're welcome.
Aleem McNeil, one of the best defensive tackles in the league.
If it happens,
Aiden
I swear
Hutchinson
to God.
should have won Defensive Player of the Year last year. Don't give me no Patrick Surtain. It was Hutch.
I mean, if he
before
was
got
healthy
hurt.
past week 6, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he was hurt like
Yeah.
a third of the way through the
No, I
season.
meant if he was healthy.
Oh, I
yeah,
was
not,
like,
no,
what?
no.
Should've been
You
Trey
can't win Defensive
Hendrickson,
Player of the
man.
Year with 5 games.
Should have
or
been
6
Trey
games.
Hendrickson, man.
And Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett is going to get traded to the Detroit Lions
For Jared Goff.
Yeah, no.
Oh my God.
We will trade them Hendon Hooker
Can you imagine? if
and
the
2
Browns-
5th-round picks because the Browns will take that. And Andrew Berry's a moron. And Logan will turn into a Lions fan like he shook my hand on if Myles Garrett becomes a Detroit Lion. I will be sure to get you a 95 Garrett jersey in the Motor City Blackout jerseys.
Oh my
The
God,
day,
dude.
actually the hour he becomes a Lion, I will order it.
Oh my gosh, man.
The Lions need another pass rusher outside of Aiden Hutchinson. Myles Garrett wants to go to a contender. The Lions are a contender. And these guys can laugh all they want.
Oh, Jared Goff in Cleveland, man. Yep.
Why are you
Hendon-
saying Jared Goff?
Because
Who's going to be our quarterback? then?
contractually,
Hooker.
Stop.
contractual wise,
Hendon Hooker.
the
No.
Lions are already paying
I have
so
one more
many
take.
guys that they're
No,
going to
they're not.
have to give up
No,
somebody.
they're not.
They are
All
definitely.
their guys are on rookie deals.
All right, we'll
They're
take.
going to start to have to pay
We'll
those
take-
guys.
Oh,
though.
I completely
Since,
agree.
okay, so we'll
But all
take
of them are
Jahmyr
rookie-
Gibbs off your hands
No.
because we'll need a running back.
Well,
We're gonna
that's
be-
the other thing is
that
who are they
Mike
going to give him
Tenenbaum,
up? Who are they going to
that
give
trader,
up?
I saw something on, I think it was First Take a few months ago, where Mike Tenenbaum or whatever his name is, who like is an advisor for the Jets, I think now. His trade proposal was the Lions trade Jahmyr Gibbs, 3 first-round picks and a second-round pick to the Browns for Myles Garrett.
Smart.
And that's
Smart
the
decision.
Jets. That's who the Jets. He's involved with the Jets.
And he's completely correct.
Yeah,
That's exactly what I'll take.
he's a moron.
He's smart.
He's an
He's
idiot.
very smart. That's actually a great trade.
No, and the Lions can trade a lot. They have draft picks. They have young talent everywhere. And it makes the most sense for Garrett. It makes the most sense for the Lions and the Browns. The Browns get to start over with picks, and maybe, I don't know, the Lions throw in Brian Branch, or they throw in
Ooh.
Oh, wow. You want to
something.
give up Brian Branch
I'll
for
give
him,
up-
huh?
not
I'll
Kirby
take-
Joseph. I don't want to give up either, but I don't know, the Browns are pretty stupid, so they'd probably take 2 second-round picks for Myles
They
Garrett.
take Hendon Hooker.
Hendon Hooker in the first.
Is Tim Boyle still a Lion?
Tim Patrick, Hendon Hooker, 2 second-round picks
One of
and
the
a
worst
third-round pick.
quarterbacks ever, and his name was TB12, Tim Boyle.
It's all right. I have one more take before we talk about the halftime show. Okay. You know, I think my next bold take, it's going to hit home a little more because of some stuff I've said in the past about situations, and I've just come to the realization now that the Cleveland Browns are going to draft Shedeur Sanders second overall. It's going to happen.
Okay.
Shedeur Sanders is going to be a Cleveland Brown. And that's just what I think. I think if I had a mock draft right now, I'd pick Shedeur Sanders to be a Cleveland Brown. It just feels like it. I mean, I don't know. And I just know we're going to circle back at this moment, and we're going to circle back from a year ago.
And
And
just
just
the
be like-
jersey. Remember that jersey of all
Wow.
the lists of quarterbacks that the Browns have had?
'Cause
Sanders.
see, here's
I
the
keep
thing.
adding them on.
Here's the thing. I've really thought about it more so at these quarterbacks, these young quarterbacks coming in. And with a Kevin Stefanski-like system, Shedeur Sanders actually makes more sense than Cameron Ward does. Because Cam Ward is more improvise and everything. Shedeur Sanders can because he has no offensive line, but he's more polished and he's more fluid and he's more systematically sound, I guess.
Yep.
It makes more sense for Shedeur Sanders in Cleveland than Cam Ward does.
I think you guys are going to take Cam Scatterboo.
And with our first pick in the second round, that'd be an elite pick.
That brings me to my second bold take.
He's Peyton Hillis 2.0.
My second bold take that I was going to give you is
Your only Madden cover is Peyton Hillis.
okay.
We at least have one, though.
This is a good call.
We
I
at
just
least
think
have
Joe
one.
Burrow's dodging the Madden curse.
Good for him.
We at least
Good for
have
him.
one. Wow.
God.
The Browns might draft. The
I just wish
Browns
it was Jabal Sheard or something. Jabal Sheard or like Phil Taylor, you know? Danny Shelton.
So
They deserve Madden covers
what about
too.
Jedrick Wills?
Jedrick Wills deserves that. Honestly, that dude wouldn't be able to get a free burger in Cleveland. No one paying for him.
He's actually paying
He
double.
couldn't even block the
He's pay-
burger
he's-
on the table.
he's paying
To
double.
be honest.
You had a question, didn't you?
Yep, I have a question. And it sort of involves my bold take. Aaron Rodgers came out. He's not going to be a Jet. I'm going to ask you who you guys think he's going to go to, because I think I know. Or at least I have an idea.
So for me, there's 3 situations. 1, he retires. Doesn't play at all anymore. 2, depending on the situation in Minnesota, he could legitimately be a Minnesota Viking next season.
Complete the cycle.
Could complete the cycle. Well, to be fair, he needed to be drafted by Atlanta, then traded to Green Bay, so it's not a real cycle. But, or 3, I don't know, either some team that just needs a quarterback for a season for bridge because they don't like these quarterbacks. So you see a team like Tennessee, or you see a team like the Giants, or you see a team like the Raiders, just have them for like a season.
Or how about a team that
Pittsburgh
just,
Steelers.
How about a team that just drafted a quarterback second overall and needs a mentor, and who needs a starting quarterback?
Are you talking? Who are you talking about, boy?
Aaron Rodgers to the Browns.
Oh, get out of here, man.
No, I think you guys are off on this one. I think he's going to take a page out of Josh McCown's book, and I think he's going to fully embrace the backup QB life, and he's going to start to figure out that he can actually be a coach. And I think he's going to take his talents to Cincinnati and sign a 1-year, $2.87 million deal to be the backup to Joe Burrow. Why? I'll tell you this, because we used to have a D tackle used to play in Green Bay.
Delusional at its finest.
I don't think so, actually.
Delusional.
He can still be a starter.
You got,
he go to Pittsburgh.
You know what? He honestly can't even. I don't think he can be a starter anymore. That dude is like 40 years old. He's breaking down. He had the worst season of his career this past year. Yeah, he's on the Jets, but at the same time, I just don't think I don't think he wants to be a starting quarterback anymore, if we're being honest with each other. I don't think he's going to be good enough. I don't think there's any situation where anybody is going to want him to be a starting quarterback. If the Jets, who are bad, don't want him to be their starting quarterback, who is going to want... You want to say Minnesota, but, like, why would they want him?
To complete the cycle.
There's no cycle. It's just
The
because
script
Brett
writers.
Favre was, like, just going to different teams.
You have to complete the cycle as a Green Bay Packer
and he was
quarterback.
52 throwing
Jordan Love
60 yards
be ready to be a
bombs.
Jet in like 2035 or something.
But I don't think it's realistic that he is a starting quarterback next year, regardless of if it's a mentor or like a starter.
Retire.
And whatever.
Like I said, my first option is
I
he
think
just
it's either
retires.
retire or I think he becomes a backup QB and starts
He'll
his
become
coaching.
a full-time person on the Pat McAfee show.
He'll be like the medicinal guy for any needs on the
He's
on the
gonna go live
sideline.
in the Malaysian mountains and live off that ayahuasca.
And if he wants to play, he'll be a Cleveland Brown.
Oh my god.
And I'll get you a Rogers 12 jersey.
Dude, TJ
Spencer
Watt would
might
break
play.
his
If this was like
clavicle.
2013,
TJ Watt would, yeah.
Him and the Highsmith dude. What's his first name?
Alonzo
Hayward Highsmith.
Hayward Highsmith.
Or that the
No, it's
basketball
not.
player? That's Haywood Highsmith.
Oh, Haywood.
Isn't it Alonzo Highsmith?
Dude, I didn't want to say Hayward Highsmith because I was like, that's a Heat forward. But like, what is his name?
Alonzo Highsmmith, I think's the name.
No, it's not
No.
Alonzo Highsmith. Now you're thinking of Alonzo Mourning. You got too
No,
many.
there is an
you got
Alonzo
too-
Highsmith.
let me look it
I'm
up.
pretty certain.
It's something Highsmith.
Alex
Alex
Highsmith.
I knew it was
Highsmith.
a something.
They're gonna. All I was gonna say is that they were gonna collide and break Aaron Rodgers once and for all. But I think he becomes backup quarterback. Good question though. It's a good question.
Yeah.
So, boys, how do we feel about the halftime show?
Thought it was good.
Me too.
That's all I gotta say really about it. I didn't think. I thought everybody knew what was kind of going down, and I think it went down exactly how it was gonna go. I mean, it was probably like a 7.5 halftime for me. I thought it was pretty mid, but I thought it was good because I thought Kendrick performed admirably.
Yeah.
I thought it was a really good set, and the storytelling of his set was. I will say I'm not a big fan of the newest project, and a lot of the songs were on the newest project, but I felt like the storytelling behind everything in the playing with the Not Like Us, saying like,
Yeah.
you know, I feel like that whole part
No.
of it was
Samuel-
really
Samuel
Samuel
L. Jackson being
was
Uncle Sam.
Samuel L. Jackson was perfect in it. I thought he did really well. The weird thing to me was the Serena Williams thing.
No, that was hilarious.
Like,
If
no.
that was
Not
hilarious.
that it wasn't hilarious, but my guy, why are you dancing to your ex? You got a whole husband. Like, if my girl was dancing at like the Super Bowl halftime trying to clown her ex, I'd be like,
Really?
He's still on your mind.
why you even care?
Right.
I thought that was weird to me. Then
She
again,
got
I guess
paid,
if you're
guess.
at the Super Bowl and I could clown my ex, I would do the same thing. But like, yeah, I'm not Serena Williams, man. But anyways, I thought it was weird, but I thought it was cool. I thought it was better than last year, but I mean, it definitely felt like a Kendrick halftime, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
How about this? It's the most viewed halftime show of all time. It even passed 1993 Michael Jackson's.
Wow.
Yeah. As
You don't know how my favorite part is that Michael Jackson opened that with like just doing nothing.
he stood there for 3 minutes.
Yeah. He's like, I'll tell you when the time's right.
Tell you when the time's right, you know. Gotta get this.
My favorite halftime show all time might
me
be
water.
from the Bengals-Rams game, though.
Oh, it's perfect.
Yeah.
Dr.
It's
Dre,
the best
man.
one.
Shout
Dr.
out
Dre,
to him.
Snoop Dogg,
It's
Eminem.
the best one,
it was
you know.
awesome.
50 Cent. You
Yeah.
got
Mary
Kendrick
J.
coming out.
That was awesome.
That was fire. the kicker for the Bengals, Evan McPherson, didn't even go inside and go to the halftime speech. He just sat there and watched Dr. Dre. I mean, why wouldn't you though? Like, you're in the Super Bowl once, you might as well watch Dr. Dre.
Yeah, because he'll never be there again with Cincinnati. That's right.
Because he's getting cut for Cade York. Because y'all couldn't save him, but we did.
There's no such thing as saving Cleveland.
Cade York.
No, that happened. It really happened. That's crazy. We'll take Evan McPherson, then we'll save him.
Hey, I mean, when your girlfriend's a Cowboys cheerleader, I mean, you got
confidence, brother.
Yeah, you got to have confidence.
Let me tell you what. Or you don't have confidence. I don't know. I mean,
one or the other. One or the other for sure. Yeah, maybe we just need to bring back Phil Dawson for Cleveland. That'll make everything right.
Mason Crosby.
Who
just retired.
He can't even kick 45 yards anymore,
hey,
dog.
But you want Aaron Rodgers.
Jason Hanson.
I didn't want Aaron Rodgers. He wants Aaron Rodgers for me, man. All right. We got to get off this football stuff. There's a lot more to talk about football later on down the road. But let's pivot to NBA. We got All-Star Weekend coming up here. How are we feeling about it?
I mean, I wasn't here last week, so I'll give my thoughts on the Luka trade real quick. I thought it ruined the NBA. No, I'm just kidding. I'm being so for real when I give you this take. I think Adam Silver phoned it in. He said he saw that the rating. I'm being so dead serious when I say this, because there is not a world where you go in as Nico Harrison and say, we're going to give away our best player who's 26 years old that all of our fans love, and give him away for. It's like if LeBron in 2007, after he went to the finals, got traded for Pau Gasol the next year.
That's actually a great analysis.
Because Pau Gasol was a dog back then, but like you weren't trading him for LeBron. And
to the Lakers.
Luka gets traded, and so I think he was like, man, we getting, because the NFL's king. It always has been. And I think he saw the ratings, and he was like, man, somebody's got to get sacrificed here. And it's just got to be the Dallas Mavericks, because out in Minnesota, they ain't budging. They've been relevant for the first time in 20 years. Why would we take that away from them? Because there's no – he didn't even tell his head coach about it. You don't just go off and say, hey, Luka Doncic gets traded. I think Adam Silver phoned it in, and then, I mean, some of the trades are just dumb. I mean, but it was a really exciting week, and it just so happened that it happened on the Sunday prior to the Super Bowl.
You know, the Luka trade also happened after Royal Rumble. I just want to pull
10 minutes later.
Man, Charlotte Flair didn't even need it, man. Charlotte Flair didn't need it. Why did Jey Uso win?
Because it's
Jey Uso, bro.
Who's Jey Uso?
No. I mean, not that who is Jey Uso, but like why?
John Cena would having John Cena win the Royal Rumble would have been cliche.
Man. It won CM Punk deserved that championship.
CM Punk's out of it. No.
CM Punk deserved it.
Cena's. He's gonna be at WrestleMania.
Oh,
he's gonna win the ladder.
They're waiting for John Cena to get his flowers later on in the year.
People are talking about a fake sport right now. It's crazy.
All right, let's get back to a faker sport, the NBA, where nobody plays on a daily basis.
I'm just saying, this just goes to show all these topics of conversation just how exciting All-Star Weekend is.
That is the problem, though, is that All-Star Weekend isn't fun anymore because
at least it's not NFL. At least it's not the NFL.
At
least it's not the Pro Bowl.
There
games.
is a real possibility that you got to think. All of the stars don't participate in the dunk contest and the 3-point contest anymore. Like in a world that it's a lot of fun, Zion is in the dunk contest every single year. You got
LeBron.
LeBron should be in the dunk contest every single year. Like that is what is wrong with it, and that's why it's not fun anymore.
Just roll the Mac McClung thing I said last year.
There's nothing for fans to get hyped about. And the problem is you get dudes like Zach LaVine and Aaron Gordon who have one of the best dunk contests of all time, and they haven't participated in it since.
Or they have, and they got duped again.
Yeah, but Aaron Gordon was like 3 years later, and his dunks weren't as good. Like, Zach LaVine could have won it 5 years straight.
Taco Fall.
He hit Taco Fall on the way up, man.
He did, but I mean, you're talking about a dude who's 5 inches taller than Shaq.
Oh, that's not. I think you're just proving my point right now. Is that it's not.
He jumped over this brick wall right here.
It's not exciting anymore. There's nothing to get the fans riled up about. No. Like, there is no. I don't know. I think it's a social media problem as well.
It's just not exciting.
It's not exciting.
It's a simple
there's
thing.
There's no branding.
It's not exciting. There's no branding. There's no promotion of it. It's just, oh, hey, the All-Star weekend coming up. Like, the thing is like, people will watch it, I'm sure. I mean, it'll probably be an exciting game. Like,
Can't wait to watch 277 to
But, like, the dunk contest
isn't
what it used to be. 3-point contest is cool and all.
That's the new event for it.
But, I mean, if Steph Curry and Klay aren't doing it, like...
Curry would win it. I mean, yeah.
Curry should win it every year.
If J.J. Redick was a part of it, Kyle Korver was a part of it, they would have just hit the threes. But
now you got, like, Tyrese Halliburton. Like, I like Tyrese as a player. Don't get me wrong. But he ain't one of the best 10 3-point shooters in the NBA.
Tyler Hero's participating in it.
Cade Cunningham is participating in it.
Cade.
They might as well have whoever the big is as well.
That's the 29 and 26 Pistons, everybody. I'm sorry, my
feels good. It feels good to finally be like.
Feels
decent.
good to not have 10 wins at the All-Star break. Yeah, it really does.
Nah, I mean it was more like 6 wins, but
hey man, we won 14 games all last year, and I got the 5th pick. Getting punched in the face 50 times.
I do think that like the NBA is in a really weird spot though right now, and I've said this a couple times. Everybody watched the NBA because Michael Jordan was in his prime, great. It was just coming off Shaq and Magic and Bird, and then it turned into a Shaquille O'Neal and Tim Duncan type thing, and then Kobe came around, and that was all fun, and then it went into LeBron, and then Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, and now there's no real guy that has stepped up. Giannis, it was supposed to be him, and then it was kind of Jokic, and now it doesn't feel like there's really a true competitor. And the only person that could fill that role is Jason Tatum, yet everybody hates him for some reason.
Yeah,
it's because he tries to be Kobe Bryant.
I don't understand.
But here's the thing, though, is that Kobe Bryant tried to be Michael Jordan, nobody cared about it. So, like...
Tatum's one of the best players in the league.
Did he, in a Celtics-Lakers game, hold on. Repeat what you said. You said Kobe trying to be Michael?
Kobe tried to be Michael Jordan.
Did Kobe ever wear a black and red 23 wristband when playing him? No, probably not. My issue
But why is that weird?
No,
he's just showing love.
I know he's showing love, but you know what else it does take away of? I get...
You're going to say a rivalry.
Yeah.
And there is no rivalry between them because the Lakers suck. It doesn't matter if
Lakers suck. They got Luka Doncic. What you talking about?
Yeah, and they're aren't they under 500 right now?
No,
NBA rivalries don't. NBA rivalries don't mean what they used to.
But that is the and that's another problem. Like, but you're telling me the dude is
buddy.
dead. First off, so like you're gonna say, oh, no rivalry. The dude's dead. Like. He's dead. He died in a helicopter crash. He's showing love to him. I'd understand if it was weird if he was alive, but like
what I'm getting at is he only does it when he plays against the Lakers. It's never. It's not like
who cares? The rivalries aren't what they used to be anymore. You remember like the Sixers and the Heat and the Celtics, Lakers. Nobody cares about these rivalries anymore because. Not half the time, nobody plays. Yeah, guys. Oh, I'm taking a rest. My my left toe
bone's
hurts.
Not funny right now.
My pinky's not feeling right. My thumb is sore. Who cares? You get paid millions of dollars to play the game. NHL players are getting murdered every night, and they're making significantly less than these players on the NBA. Do you think that Connor McDavid, if he got, sideswiped by Austin Matthews,
if he got slashed in the neck by a skate, he's going to be back in a week.
He's going to be back the next shift. That's what I don't get. He's going to be back the next shift.
But you're right, but that is the thing is like people call Tatum corny, and it's like I get it to a certain extent, but he just won an NBA championship. He averaged 30. It's fans like this, everybody.
You know which All-Star game doesn't have any issues and is perfect? The MLB. Everybody go watch that when it comes to it.
Man, the MLB, if they just marketed correctly.
Yeah.
If they marketed correctly,
Home Run Derby's awesome.
Listen, you watch a Philadelphia Phillies game at home against the Atlanta Braves in the first round, Game 3, 2 years ago, when Bryson Stott hit a homer and then 3 pitches later, Bryce Harper hit 146 to the upper deck. You're telling me that ain't the most electric you've ever seen a stadium? Go watch
Our
it, please.
producer's husband might not like that you said that. He's
I
a
don't care.
Braves fan.
But all I'm saying, though, is
Shout out, Eric.
MLB could really be up there, man, because
No,
it
it's
is
awesome.
so much
MLB,
fun to watch.
The MLB is so hated on, and it's ridiculous.
I think the
it's the best
comeback.
sport.
I think the
It's best
comeback
sport.
has been real for the MLB recently, though.
The one thing you can say against MLB is, the Dodgers are ruining baseball. There's something to be said about that, but it's competitive. And you don't see players every day saying, oh, my left ankle hurts. My pinky doesn't feel right. My ear is sore. I'm going to take a week off. Nobody does that.
I'm not going to play in Denver every game since 2016.
Shout out Joel Embiid. Yes. Like, nobody does that in MLB. Nobody does that in the NHL.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think coming back to the NBA, I think it's just a real stars problem right now. There is no guy, and I think
parity.
Anthony Edwards and Luka Doncic can get there, but because of the way, and I know I keep bringing this up with social media, but that is the reality of what's happening.
Specifically
Is
with basketball.
argue
With
that
basketball.
Social
in a
media with
year or
basketball
so-
is so like they kill the stars, like, and it sucks because nobody gets love the correct way anymore.
I still think that there's a place where Anthony Edwards can take that next step, and he can be
Oh,
that
yeah.
guy. He's had a great year, but he hasn't had like an elite MVP level year. Like, but no, I completely agree. The face of the NBA is still LeBron, and I think that honestly is an issue because they
Yeah.
need a new star to step up. It was Giannis.
Yeah.
It was Jokic.
The issue is there's parity, and that there hasn't been one of them that's really solidified it yet.
Yeah, and at some in like all of those older stars that were big in the 2010s that made it so much fun to watch, the Cleveland, you had the Indiana Pacers with Paul George who couldn't get past the Heat, and then
Roy Hibbert, Danny Granger.
you got LeBron goes back to Cleveland, and then it's Golden State, Cleveland, and then Kevin Durant steps in. And
Those Spurs Thunder matchups
and
of the early 2010s.
and the,
Oh, yeah.
the
every
Rockets
year
are
were
knocking
great.
on the door. The young Thunder, like it was all created to be face of the league.
Yes.
But LeBron was always the face of the league, and now all those guys are old. And none of
Speaking
these
of
young
Paul
guys have been
George.
able to step up. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander could get there too. I
Yeah.
really
Yeah,
like
that's
his
true.
game.
If Ja Morant would put the gun down from time to time,
I don't think
he
Ja.
could too.
I
No,
don't think
I
Ja-
mean,
He has the Derrick Rose.
Zion
I think he's
Williamson.
very Derrick
I
Rose-like.
just- I don't
Zion
know.
could have been the face of the league, but he's always injured.
he didn't
the
need
And
thing,
his
he's
weight.
also
Yeah.
at Golden Corral.
it's the thing.
I mean,
But
hey, with the food in New Orleans, I don't blame him. I mean,
Yeah, it's just
it's a lot of great seafood.
It's
down
just-
there.
see, here's the thing. Hey, I bet he
the
enjoys that
man
chocolate
likes
fountain.
the man likes crawfish. Can you blame him? I
Ain't no
love
other
crawfish,
crawfish,
Oh
shrimp,
my
dude.
crab
God.
legs.
Crawfish is elite. Oh man.
Gumbo.
good
Oh my god, the
stuff.
gumbo down there.
But in reality,
Unbelievable.
though, Paul George needs to put the fries in the bag now. At this point, he
And that's
needs
the
to stop
problem
playing
is
basketball.
But
I
you're right
swear.
with the parody thing. The game of basketball is so easily taught and consumed nowadays
Yes.
that there's no bad players playing off the bench. There's no Luke Longleys of this game anymore, man. You got the way basketball is played now, you got dudes coming off the bench who are you got dudes
Luke Longley's a
you
heck
got
of a
dudes
pull.
coming up and shooting
Wow.
25 shots per game, man. Like that's the reality of it. And like the game is just so offensively, there's no defense played. And there's so many different things that have created an NBA that it's not fun to watch. Nobody wants to watch 7 games a series.
Nobody plays
They'll
defense
tune in
anymore.
game 6 and game 7 potentially, but unless it's a new team in the NBA or an 8th seed Miami Heat that comes out of nowhere, ain't nobody watching the finals. Ain't nobody want to watch that, Nobody watched the Celtics last year because everybody knew the Celtics were going to destroy that Mavs team, and if you didn't, then I don't know what basketball you're watching. But there is nothing to get excited about for the NBA right now. It's a real problem. You have to dig deep and really love the storylines of the NBA to really be invested.
The average fan
these guys.
that'll just on a Saturday night, they won't want to watch Mavericks Suns. Like these matchups, who wants to watch some of these? The only matchups you'll want to watch if you're Knicks Celtics would be a good one, or the top 3 in the East, or Thunder versus Nuggets or something like that. But even then, it's The average fan, I don't feel like wants to watch the NBA because you only get interested in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And
Interested in the fourth quarter of the playoffs because regular season basketball, the effort ain't put in.
Yeah, and
No,
I
it's
think
not.
I think it's a weird time in like in the early 2000s. There was that, like, especially us, right? Our era, our generation of people grew up with being consumed with 2K and LeBron in that era, and now we're all starting to get older, and that stuff isn't as cool to all of us. We don't care about the NBA like that anymore. It was so great back then, and there's so many of us, and that is just not how kids are brought up nowadays. They're not playing hoops in the backyard anymore. They're playing on their game all the time.
Right.
You know, and streaming services as well. There's so many backdoor streaming services that, you know, you can't really, like, you might not even want to watch it on ABC anymore when, you know, they have great presentations all the time. But there is no games to get excited about. There's one game I've watched this season in the NBA that was fun to watch, and it was the Cavs versus the Thunder the second time around. And that was a really good game.
Yep. But that's already done. The
Yeah.
only other time they'll see each other is in the finals if they make it.
Yeah, and it's interesting.
Would you make the argument that the NBA may need to change their playoff format to not just East and West?
You know, they need
To maybe make
I don't
the
know
top.
about that.
I don't
No.
but
But I think it should go MLB.
top 7?
No, first round is a 1 game. Second round
Okay.
is
I get what you're
3.
saying.
Semifinals is 5, and you got your finals, which is 7.
Yeah.
And the reasoning for that is because, well, actually, I think the first round is 3 technically.
yeah. It's
Yeah,
3.
the first
Wild
round,
card-
the wild,
wild card got
the wild
changed
card
to
was
3,
changed
right?
to
Yeah.
3.
Okay,
a
so
few
you got
years
first
ago.
round is 3, second round is 5, then 7 and 7.
Yeah.
That's the way that it should be, because you just 7 games is a long time, and
It is.
just nobody's gonna want to
They
watch.
drag it out. The NBA, the playoff is so dragged out.
It's dragged out,
The first
yeah.
round takes like a month. It seems like.
It does, yeah. Ain't nobody trying to watch the Raptors versus the Pacers in the
No,
first
and,
round.
and
man.
another thing that I like,
And the Pacers
get
win
rid of the
4-0.
play-in tournament. The play-in tournament is ridiculous. You have a team like
Yes.
the Chicago Bulls,
Yeah.
I
who
fully agree
were
there.
down 71-29 of the Pistons at halftime. They're in a play-in spot right now.
Not for long. Watch out for them Brooklyn Nets, boy.
Oh, I mean, whatever. The play-in is ridiculous.
The play-in
It
is
is.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
The in-season tournament is also, it's cool,
Nobody
but it's
cares.
ridiculous
I
because
actually like it. There's just no incentive.
there's
with
no
it.
incentive for the
Who's
fan.
who are the Bucks going to hang a 2024 in-season tournament banner?
No, but I will say this about the in-season tournament is that it showed the Bucks actually really wanted to win that thing, and they did, and they've actually they haven't added on after that, but they played really well, and I think people tuned into that game. The Thunder vs. Bucks was actually a really good game.
It was.
You know, a lot of people got to see Derry Bird on a bigger stage and nobody knows who that is, but that's AJ Green, and they got to see a guy like Andre Jackson Jr. step up and play really well that game. Like, I think those things are cool, but outside of that, nobody wants to tune in and watch, you know, a team that's 2 games over 500 play another game that's 2 games over 500 that it won't even matter at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, there's no team racing to get that 7 and 8 spot, because if they're
already in a spot.
If they're in the 8th spot, then they get a home playoff, or even if they lose their first, you know, play-in game, it
They get
won't
another
matter
shot.
because they get a home playoff game the next time around. So it's just, the format is weird. Everything about the NBA is in shambles right now. That's why Adam Silver called it in and said, "Hey, we need Luka going to the Lakers."
Here's just a better idea. Get rid of some of these things that you've tried to make fun or work around it. At least with the in-season tournament, that makes a lot more sense than the actual play-in to me, because in the play-in, I mean, those teams they're already at better records. They're already at that point. You might as well just let them be in the playoff at 7 and 8. But for the in-season tournament, you either got to move it to later in the year, have some kind of incentive for the playoffs.
Don't make it at the beginning of the year.
No.
Make it in
no.
like January or like in like the middle of the year.
Yeah, and
Right
whoever
around
wins
All-Star
gets,
break.
like, a
Because it
playoff
seems like
spot.
the like it starts
Make that a part of All-Star break.
like 3 weeks into the season. We're already seeing an in-season tournament. I'm like, dude, it just started.
Yeah, I don't know. I think, you know, for me personally, another thing that really annoys me about the NBA is they're above the lawness. you got dudes like Miles Bridges, man, who has literally been on account of beating his wife like 3 times and is still being paid millions and millions of dollars. And you can call me old or whatever you want, but I think it's BS. And I think it's dumb, and that's another reason I don't watch the NBA all the time. I love some of the storylines and how it goes, but you're going to put a dude out there who literally has assaulted women multiple times. Now, don't get me wrong. I love Joe Mixon.
The NFL does it too, to be
but
honest.
Joe
NFL
Mixon,
does it a
Kareem
ton.
Hunt, you guys are pieces of shit too. Like,
Oof.
I don't think you can edit that out. I apologize.
Nah, we'll
like,
leave it in. We'll leave it in.
I think it's crazy sometimes that like these people are, because they make so much money. You're entertainment, first off, bro. Just because you can put a ball through the hoop don't mean shit.
Bingo. But really, though,
Enough said.
no, you're
People
right.
behind the camera make you look good. I'm just letting you know.
I mean, I look fire, so it's all right.
You're
you
glowing.
look white, yeah.
I look very
You're glowing, buddy.
white fire,
glowing.
man.
Pure glow ball over here. Let's switch it up. Let's go to wrap up the show. Let's talk a little college basketball. You know what I'm saying? How about we got number 1, number 2 coming up on Saturday.
Yep.
Auburn, Alabama. 2 best teams. Are they really the 2 best teams?
I mean, to right now, I mean, there's just a ton of parity in basketball.
Yeah, there is.
I mean, you can't really say it because we still have a full month left. The biggest stretch of games coming up for most teams. Bubble teams trying to get in, teams trying to get top seeds. I mean, yeah, they're 1 and 2. I mean, Auburn has been, I think, the most consistent all year. They had that bad loss at home against Florida last weekend. But Florida's a really good team, and I think it's going to be an interesting matchup. It's going to be really fun. I don't know what else much to say, but
Is his name Mark Sears?
Yes,
That dude's
Yeah.
been in basketball for 30 years.
that's true.
Okay.
Bobcat legend.
They
Yeah.
got another dude. He's number 2. He's a lanky white dude.
Yes.
Yeah, Grant Nelson. Yeah,
Shout out the cameraman.
The full Nelson.
Shout out the
What happened with
cameraman.
Duke against Clemson, by the way, cameraman?
Yeah, nope. Team.
But
that's tough.
this Alabama team is a year off being in the Final Four, and
Right.
was really the biggest test to that UConn team last year. A lot of people forget, but they had a lead in the second half over UConn. That was the only team in the NCAA tournament that had a lead against them in the second half, which is just incredible. They just didn't have things go their way, and that UConn team was really, really good. I think Auburn is the most college basketball team of all time, if that makes any sense. Jamari Broom.
I get what you're saying.
5th year, dude.
Johnny Broom. Probably going to win Player of the Year because, our
Cooper
cameraman.
Flag.
Our
Oh,
cameraman
Our
might
cameraman,
as well be
I'm
on the
going to
mic.
give you guys love in just a second, man. You know I will. Johnny Broom probably going to win it just because he's an older guy. That's usually how it goes. I think this team is good, but I think, man, the SEC is really tough this year. The Big 12 is
They're
always
beating
really
each other
tough. The
up.
Big 10's got a team up in Ann Arbor that's hot right now in sole place, in sole possession
They'll
of
get
first
cooled down on
place.
You're going to hear John
But
Mobley
I
Jr.
think,
real quick.
I think this Alabama team is really good. It's different when you come in with big expectations, though. I think Kentucky is really, really good when they're not playing the Razorbacks of Arkansas. I think Tennessee is really good at home. I think Florida is really, really good.
At home, Florida is probably the best team in college basketball.
Yeah, Elijah Martin is really, really good. Another guy who came over from the FAU team from a couple years ago. I mean, I could get into this, but
Get into it.
yeah, FAU a couple years ago with Dusty May has several guys. It's one of the most impressive rosters you'll see. They have dudes at Arkansas. They have dudes at Michigan. They have dudes at Florida. They have a ton of guys that made that Final Four who are either in the NBA and the G League or on different teams. It's very impressive how that team was put together. But there are a lot of good teams. In my opinion, I think Kentucky is the best team in college basketball. Jackson Robinson is absolutely incredible. I've said this from day one. They're incredible. Number 2, in my opinion, is Duke Blue Devils. And my boy Cameron back there, he keeps saying that I shouldn't say that because he hates when I call him out. But they are that good, and they're going to be that good because Cooper Flagg has a Carmelo Anthony feel to me. And
Duke's the best, so
I think
they are the best team, in my opinion.
I think it would be interesting because I think Kentucky can shoot the three better than them, and it's always imperative during March who can shoot the three better. And I think, late game, who can shoot the three better, who's better in transition, who's better defensive rebounding, and I think Kentucky checks all of those boxes off. I think they win it, but I think this Auburn-Alabama game doesn't do or say much for college basketball at all. I also think Houston is really good.
Houston's always really good.
But can they win in March?
No, they're Sweet 16 merchants, just like the Arizona Wildcats. Sweet 16
God.
merchants.
They suck.
Yeah.
They're not
Shout
good.
out Caleb Love.
Shout out Kansas State, man. Kansas State is one of the hottest teams in college basketball right now.
Yeah.
They are beating top 25 teams left, right, and center.
Beat
right
Kansas and who'd they just beat? They beat Kansas.
They
Iowa
beat
State,
Kansas.
didn't they?
They beat Iowa
They beat
State.
Iowa State.
They just
Yeah.
beat somebody last night.
Probably Baylor or something like that.
I
I'll
don't
need
know.
to look.
Baylor actually isn't that
Was
good.
it
this
Arizona?
year.
Not this year. Shout out my Villanova Wildcats for beating
Shout
the
out
ninth
them, man.
ranked
That's
St.
another
John's
good
Red
team.
Storm.
Is not Villanova, but St. John's.
St. John's is.
They're
yeah.
very
Rick
good.
Pitino.
Very good
in
defensively.
second year is unreal.
They're the best
Very good
defensive team in
defensively. They're
college
going to be
basketball.
very tough to beat this year.
Thing is, it's weird because I feel like Villanova beats teams like St. John's, but would lose to Fairleigh Dickinson. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's Villanova.
Yeah.
They have the leading scorer in college basketball, points per game wise, in Eric Dixon.
Yeah.
They deserve a lot more this year, but that's okay.
Yeah, I think
all right.
a team like Marquette is tough too. The only problem with Marquette is they just have not been able to get over the hump.
They're round of 32 merchants.
They are, and they win their first game, but they have a real problem doing the 2 games in 3 days type thing.
Yeah.
And that is a problem from the head coach and up. And at some point,
Shaka Smart's one of the best minds in college
Shaka
basketball,
Smart
too.
took a Wichita State team that was not good to the Final Four, and he has not done anything with Marquette since. He's had a lot of really good players go through there.
He was at Texas
He was
too.
going to say he was
Yeah.
the Texas head coach.
I think he was somewhere else too, even before, like after VCU. He was like VCU, Texas. He's been over a couple
VCU.
places.
My apologies. I was thinking Wichita State, VCU, gold, black.
Well,
it's all
Wichita
the
State
same
also
thing.
wasn't good when they made the Final Four too.
Whoa, Ron Baker, man. Ron Baker was a baller, dude.
I said Wichita
Didn't-
State wasn't good. I didn't say player.
Oh, didn't they have Fred VanVleet on that team?
Was he on that team?
Fred VanVleet on that team.
Never mind, they were really good.
I was gonna say they
I
had
couldn't
a
remember
really
what
good team
Fred
that year.
VanVleet wasn't on. It's all right though.
NBA champion Fred VanVleet.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy work.
March is going to be fun.
March is going to be fun. I'm
It's
looking
the
forward to it.
best
Tournament.
4 weeks of the year, man.
It's also the best tournament in general. There's no tournament like it.
Yeah.
They better not expand it.
There's not a tournament like the Mid-American Conference either.
No, there isn't.
And if you can't go to the turn into
You should listen to 88.3
WXUT, Toledo's only alternative.
Yeah, just to see Akron steamroll everybody.
You know, that's the fun. Here's my thing though, is there is going to be a team that gets healthy like Ohio or Miami, and they're going to get hot, and they are going to meet that Akron team, and that Akron team better be ready because Miami is really good, and Ohio is missing their best player in A.J. Clayton right now. And if he gets healthy and comes back, that team is going to be really tough to beat.
Yep.
Kent State is another team that is really good, and we saw them last year in March. They just get ready. That's just how they are. They get hot, they get ready, and that's the thing with the women's side as well. Todd Starkey is going to get that team ready to go in Cleveland, and they're going to be a tough out.
Yeah.
But I think Akron probably wins it for the guys again, unfortunately.
I think Ball State should be the favorite easily for the women's with Allie Becky.
Oh,
I mean, she's an
absolutely.
absolute
But
monster.
last year, that team was even better,
They were.
and they lost to a Kent
I think
State
Allie
team.
Becky's done better this season.
Oh,
on an individual.
yeah,
She's
but-
had to. She's had to.
Absolutely. She is the best player in the women's. Like last year, Toledo had, in my opinion, the 2 best in Sophia Wired and Quenisha Lockett. And then I think Allie Becky was right there. Nyla Hampton was right there as well. Like Ball State and Toledo definitely had 6 of the best 10 players easily.
They sadly didn't have Shella Watson.
Chella Watson was probably 3 or 4. She was just a good scorer. Not great defensively,
No.
but she's one of the purest scorers I've ever seen as a girl. Like, shout out to her. Like, just dog. I would not want to play with her one-on-one.
She 21 OU, bro.
Yeah, physical.
Specifically in theater.
Great player in the paint, great player outside, has a good handle, smart. She is 100% 1A and 1B with Allie Becky as players this year.
Yeah. Anything else, Spencer Gallup?
Screw you, Alex Bregman. Next.
Anything else, Andu Homan?
I'm good, man. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate you guys. I haven't been on in a couple weeks. I've been working on Thursdays, so.
I know, it's crazy. But he said, screw the Ball and Beats podcast for a
Nope,
hot
just
second.
got to make money.
Gotta
provide.
That's
right.
going to wrap up
Gotta
episode
make that.
127 of the Ball and Beats podcast. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit that push notification bell to stay up to date on all new videos. Follow the social media pages. We'll see y'all next week. Take care. Peace out with my glowing whiteness.
Whoosh.